Not so long ago, in the mysterious land of Asunción, Paraguay, Sandy Gabriaguez was walking on the street.
Ding dong.
Hi, Sunny. Hi, Ara. Hi, Bianca. Hi. How are you? Good.
Wait a minute, fill my cup, put some nigga in it. Take a sip, sign the check. Julio, get the stretch. Right to Harlem, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. If we show up, we gon' show out. Smoother than a fresh drop. Skip it.
I'm done with the conversation now.
Sit back down.
I'm sat.
What are you doing, by the way?
I'm looking for a game to play, but they are all so boring.
Really? Why?
I don't know, I'm just tired of them. There isn't anything new.
I get you. But what can we do about it?
We could create our own video game.
I think that's a great idea. How are we gonna do that? We don't know how to program.
But we have some friends who do.
Really? And who are they?
Our friend from the UPTP, don't you remember?
Who?
Dino, Alexis, and Miguel. But I'm going to call them.
What's wrong? Someone calls me. Yes, hello?
Hey Dino, are you with the boys?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are you with the boys?
Yes, we are. What's wrong?
We need your help. Can you come to our house?
Yes, we can. Boys? Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome, I'm glad to see you again. Wow. Well, I would like to show you how to create a video game. So let's say this like a tutorial. We're going to show you the steps that we did to create our game. So follow me. Before to start and develop and code the game, it is important to have a clear idea of which type of game you want to do. Well, in our case, we did a brainstorming. Then, after many ideas, we chose one type of game, and it was like a geometry dash. Well, geometry dash consists basically in jump obstacles and you must not to touch them, because if you touch them, you lose. But at the end, we changed the game, because we wanted a challenging one, like a GTA, Doom, or Call of Duty. Nah, I'm just joking. we just didn't know where to start. But hey, don't judge us because it can happen, you know? But after another brainstorming, we got it. Finally, we got it. We wanted to create a game like Street Fighter. Then the second step is to choose a programming language where you want to code your game. In our case, we choose Python with the help of the library Pygames. Pygames is a set of Python models designed for writing video games. And one of the most important steps, divide the game into smaller parts for a better and productive word, like the phrase that says, divide and conquer. Well, now that you have the key concepts, here is how the team and I are going to explain you step by step to develop this game. Creating the game structure. This basically means create some conditions and variables where the game is going to take place. Well, the game structure basically is like this. How you can see, the structure is very simple. At first, we must import our library, in this case, Pygame. Then, we must create our game window, and we can give the width and the height. Then, it is also important to create a game loop, because this will allow the game to continuously run, take actions, draw the players, and everything on the screen until we choose to exit, and that is the event handler. Finally, we must to exit Pygame. Everything that I mentioned you can see here on the screen. Obviously, we have another things like put images on the windows or the structure of the folder. That means where it is located.
The fighter class. As the name shows, it's a class that, let's say, receives all kinds of parameters and needed for our code to work and recognize each fighter. For example, some parameters are the position parameter, the animation sprites that are needed for each frame of animation of depending on the character, for example the animation of the wizard, the knight or the samurai, and even sound effects when one of these characters attack. We set the position of all the fighters on the screen depending on which fighter we pick. The position works on an X and Y coordinate. Since we are talking of a two-dimensional game, thanks to the facilities of Pygame, we apply 7 types of actions that are constantly updating so that we can get the status of our characters or fighters. The action 0, for example, will be the idle action, and as the name indicates, the idle action basically is the default action when our character is not in movement, and it remains like that unless we press a key or activate a special command. And this action is the same for all characters, and they perform the individual idle animation. Action will be running. We can make our characters run according to its controls. For example, the knight moves to the left with the key A and to the right with the key D. All this was possible thanks to a Pygame command that allowed us to get a key pressed by the user. Similarly, the action 2 will be jumping, and jumping works in a similar manner like the running animation or action. We get a key from the user. In this case, the knight, for example, will jump with double D, and we use the same tool that we used as in the previous action. The next 2 actions are attacking, action 3 and 4. The main difference between these actions is that they have different patterns and different animations. Action 5, that is hit action, we update the health of the fighter that is being attacked, so the health is reduced. As action will be the death action, that is number 6. If the state of alive of the fighter is false, that means it will be dead, so death will be true. And we will activate the dying animation, and we will start a cooldown or countdown for the next round. So we begin setting the state of the fighter as alive equals to true again.
If you're interested in knowing how we created the health bars, how we created the attacks of the fighters, and how we made them face each other at any position, then keep watching this video. So, in the fighter section in class fighter, I'm going to be explaining the attacks of the fighters. First, I want to explain a condition that ensures the players face each other. So this condition basically means that no matter if our enemy is to the left hand side or to the right hand side, we are always going to be facing each other and our attack is going to be thrown in the direction of our enemy. Now moving on to the attack, we have 3 sections of attacks because we have 3 characters to choose. The actions are basically the same, but there are some differences like key presses. Now we also want to check the range of this attack, so we go to this function, which is the attack function, and here we create this attacking rectangle. So here we have the X and Y coordinates, we have the width and the height. So our attack is going to be basically 6 times the width of the player. And this condition is created to determine if a collision has been made to the enemy. Now we want to throw an attack without having to jump or move to the left or to the right. So that's why we set in the move function this condition that means that we can only perform other actions if we are not currently attacking. So if this is false, then all of this is okay, but if we are attacking, then we cannot jump or move at the same time. So now that we have created the fighters' attacks, we need to add the health for both players, so when we throw a successful attack, we can see their health dropping. So we go to the fighter section and we initiate this health by setting it equal to 100. Then into the main section we go to this function for drawing fighter health bars, where we create 3 rectangles, yellow, red and white one. We plug their coordinates, the X and Y coordinates and their pixels. So we also set this ratio equal to health divided by 100. This is responsible for reducing the yellow rectangle. So we also need to define the colors here, and we also need to call this function, which we are going to be doing in this part of show player stats. So in this part we have both players, their healths and their coordinates.
Now, the thing about our characters is that we are based exclusively in the graphics and in the sprite sheets animation of every one of them. We have 3 characters, so we need to have the sprite for each of them. Each of them have 2 attacks, 1 jump, 1 animation of death, the animation of run, and the animation of idle when he is standby. For this is that we need to have a unique and specifically calculated millimetrically sprite sheet for this animation to be fluid and well look to the user. Now, how we can do this? In the folder of this archive, we upload all the characters and his sprite sheets when we actually wanted to have a special set for every one of them, and we programmed this in the final product. The samurai have his animation, the warrior have his animation, and the wizard have his animation. and we put the step frame by frame, step by step in every action that the player can be performed. We can make possible all this animation with the main page of the program. Now, every action have a number. For example, standing by and attacking is number 1 and 5 respectively. So when the player gets the output 5, the animation of the get hit will be played. This is all made in the if function. So no matter how many times you get hit by the attack number 1 or the attack number 2, you will always get the animation played for all the cases. The samurai, the wizard, and the warrior all function in this very same. Without all these sprite shapes, there will be just practically rectangles moving all over the screen, so it wouldn't have any sense. But still, all is calculated, so there is no mistakes in all the animations, and you can play satisfactorily with all the characters, and with all of them will have very fluid animations.
Another interesting thing that we decided to implement is the cooldown in the animations of attacks. And it's not just the cooldown in the animation, the cooldown is applied in the speed of the attacks too. With this mechanic, it's a little more challenging for the players because you will need to know when to attack and when not. Another thing is that you can reset the attack of your enemy if you land a hit in the right time, so the attack animation will be cancelled too. All of these animations are defined in variables.
Once we got all the mechanics in the animation in place, we can control and move around player 1, but we can't control player 2 just yet, so we now should focus on the second player. For this we go back to the fighter class, to the section that is located about the line 57 right here, which is basically the movement section. We have the controls for player 1, and we need to duplicate this and create additional controls for the other player. In order to know which player we're controlling, this class is going to need an additional argument in line 4, which is player, and then add this variable in line 14. Then this argument is fitted in our main code, while we're both players were previously created, so we go to our main, search for this section, which is right here, line 91 and 92. So, in order to state that player 1 is player 1 and that player 2 is player 2, we specify this with these numbers right here, 1 and 2. Now that we defined who is who, we move back to fighter. We can now differentiate which of these controls are going to be moving which player. We can see the comments right here, check player 1 controls and check player 2 controls. And these controls know now who to apply to these statements in line 60 and line 83. So this is for player 1, player 2, 1 and 2. We can now control them once we call them into our main, right at the lines 1, 2, 6. So we go to our main to the line 1, 2, 6, which is right here, and 1, 2, 7. Now in our fighter class, in the line 58, which is here, we can now define our conditions for using the controls, and those are here when the player is not attacking, then when the player is alive, and when the round is not over yet. Now regarding the music and sound effects of the game, to be able to use them, we imported another module from Pygame in the line 2 of our main, which is going to be this import mixer. So this mixer is also by line 6. The music and sound effects can now be loaded, and we can see that from line 46, which is going to be here. We have our directions of our sound effects right here as sets.
The main difficulty that we found in this project was learning a new language. We were used to programming in C, and now we had to learn Python, because in Python the video game would be easier to develop, because we had to worry about the video game in itself and not on the syntax of the language. But this problem soon became an advantage because we learned a lot in Python, which will be a useful skill in the future. The developing of our game took its process because we wanted a game where we could use our imagination to create something great and original. First, we looked up for ideas on the internet, and we found the base of our game, but it had a lot of things to add and details to correct. First, the game only had 2 characters that had the same characteristics and did the same damage to each other. We thought that it would be great if each of the players could choose which character he wants to be and which special skills to use. We also changed some details like the music, the background, or the sound that is made when one of the fighters punches the other one. And with the combination of these changes and details is how we ended up. We also added a new character, which is a samurai. With that, we added a menu, so when the game starts, the player can choose which fighter he wants to be. One of them has a lot of range, so he can punch his opponents even though he's not beside them. The second one is really fast, and he can avoid the damage as he moves from one side to the other one. And the third one is really strong and does a lot of damage with one punch.